Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am in my kitchen. I want to do some deep cleaning and decluttering in all of my cabinets, and I've done this on my channel before in the past. It's actually been a while since I've done this, and if you have seen me do that in the past, for some reason I usually start on that side of the kitchen to work clockwise around my kitchen, but today I decided to start on this side of the kitchen just to mix it up, because literally for years I've done it the same way, where I've started on that side of the kitchen. But anyway, in addition to sharing this deep cleaning motivation and hopefully some decluttering, I'm not sure what I have left in my kitchen to declutter at this point, to be honest, but in addition to sharing this motivation with you, today is a Thoughtful Thursday, and if you're new around here or don't know what that means, I share my thoughts in the voiceover every Thursday, but this is a different Thoughtful Thursday type of video because I decided to share a Q&A with you. I thought it was okay to share this for Thoughtful Thursday because I'm sure I will be sharing my thoughts on various topics as I answer your questions. I did ask over on Instagram and here in my community tab for questions. I got quite a bit of questions, so hopefully I can get through them all. And if you missed out on asking me a question, please drop your question down in the comment section and I will be sure to answer it. I wanted to do this because I just celebrated my 5-year YouTube anniversary. I started my YouTube journey 5 years ago on November 1st, and so this is just my way of celebrating that milestone of finishing out another year as a YouTuber. So without further ado, let me get into cleaning these kitchen cabinets out and answering all of your questions. Okay, before we get into the Q&As, I did just want to give a little disclaimer. I recognize that our kitchen is not in great shape. When we moved into this home, it was built in the 1970s and it wasn't upgraded very much, and one of the things I chose to do instead of gutting the kitchen is just painting the cabinets, which I did now like 13 years ago. So there's a lot of scuffing on the cabinets, and I was going to repaint some of those spots. However, if you know anything about paint, over time it fades. And so the original color that I have for this paint is not the same as when I painted it because of the sun fading it. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with it, but I do want to fix the cabinets. Just, it is not something that I have prioritized yet. And the inside of the cabinets, again, these are just really old cabinets. And so that is what I'm working with. So I just wanted to give that little disclaimer. Also, one other thing on the paint front, I recognize that you can like take a paint chip and have it color matched at most paint stores, but the issue is the type of paint that I used on these cabinets. It is a kit. It's called Cabinet Transformations by Rust-Oleum, and you can't get any color you want. There are specific colors that they will prepare for you with this particular product, and so unfortunately I can't get a color match. So anyway, enough of the disclaimers. Let's move into the Q&A. Okay, my first question comes from my friend Jessica. She actually asked a couple of questions, and the first one is, if you could change something physically, would you do it, and what is it? I assume she means to my body. And I would say not at this point in my life. I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin and really believe that God created us all uniquely and that is okay. I will share a little vulnerably and say that when I was younger, I was not as confident as I am today, and I really did want to get a breast augmentation just because I felt like my body didn't meet up with, the westernized standards of that anatomy part, but now I realize that there are a lot of risks and drawbacks associated with that kind of surgery. I also realize that the ideal that used to be in my head is a westernized standard of beauty, specifically for this time period we're living in. Not to mention the fact that my husband is happy the way that I am, and truly that is all that matters. The only other thing would be I would like to be more muscular, but that's less about looks for me and more about my ability to stay strong and agile as I age. And then her second question is, what is something you admire from a person? I think the thing that I admire the most in someone is when they're kind. I feel like that is a lost virtue these days. There are so many people who are unkind behind a computer screen, but I honestly see it even in person, not just behind a computer screen. And to me, the true test is when someone stays kind to others amidst adversity in life. And I just really appreciate that. I know that's not easy to do. I also appreciate someone who is honest, who will tell me how it is and actually challenge me and not just tell me what I want to hear. I feel like so many people, like friends, will just tell you what you want to hear and not challenge what you're sharing or what you're telling them. And lastly, I wanted to include this one. I really appreciate someone who has high work ethic. I was raised with this as one of the most important values, so it was just instilled in me, and so I really appreciate that when I see that in others. The next couple of questions I have are from my friend Brittany. She had 2 questions, and her first one was, do you have any travel plans for the holidays? And no travel plans for the holidays. Our son Luke, who if you've been around here, you know he just moved to Portland, Oregon in August. He will actually be coming home for both Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So we will be around just being able to enjoy time with him. My in-laws pretty much every year come over for Thanksgiving dinner, so they will be here for Thanksgiving. We do often go skiing over the holiday season, but we currently don't have our next ski trip planned, which kind of reminds me that I do want to do that. And then her other question was, what is your favorite type of content to film? I would say I really enjoy filming day in the life videos. I don't actually film them or share them very often, and maybe that's why I enjoy filming them, because sometimes when I film these cleaning videos or organizing videos, it gets a little bit repetitive, especially since I've been doing it for 5 years. But I think because I don't share day in the life videos quite as often, it's just more fun and I get to think outside of the box and be more creative. The next question comes from my friend Erica, and she asks, how has your channel changed you? Well, I have actually changed quite a bit over the last 5 years, but I don't attribute all of the changes to having a YouTube channel. So it's a bit hard to parse out what has been related to having the channel and what is just from other practices I've incorporated into my life over the last 5 years. I think YouTube has definitely helped me to deal with some people-pleasing tendencies. It has taught me that I can't please everyone, so I might as well just be me and make choices that I believe are best for me and for my life. I think it has also helped me to deal with some of my perfectionist tendencies. If you were around last year, I did participate in Vlogmas, and part of the reason why I wanted to do that was to learn to be okay with work that was not perfect. On all social media platforms, I remind myself that I did the best I could with what I had to share in that moment, with the experience and the knowledge that I have in that moment creating that content. But I do definitely have high standards. I do like to put out content that is as good as I can, or with as much excellence as I can. Lastly, I think putting myself out there was another way that it changed me, especially once I began sharing Thoughtful Thursday videos. I think it's helped me to learn to be okay with being vulnerable. Okay, I got another question from my friend Jen about how YouTube has changed me. So I thought I would go ahead and jump into her other question since I just answered her first question. But she also asked, what have you learned from YouTube? And I would say I have learned that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay if things aren't perfect. Like I mentioned, I do try to share high quality content, but I recognize that I am human and that I will make mistakes. I recognize that I still have plenty to learn and room to grow as far as creating content. I have also just learned practical skills, how to film and edit, how to upload and do the back-end work on a video, how to look at YouTube analytics, although admittedly I'm not great at that one. That, again, room to grow. I have learned how to cooperate with other YouTubers and also with brands. And I have learned to actually negotiate with brands and when coming up with a plan to share their products. So all of these things are just practical skills that I appreciate that I've learned. Next up is a question from my friend Rob, and he asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now with your YouTube channel? Do you see yourself being one of the bigger channels? I think everyone who has a YouTube channel has that goal of growth. Like, you know, the analytics are the main thing we have to look at as far as determining if our channel is successful. But I will say that the analytics aren't necessarily always indicative of how good your content is just because of the way the algorithms work. Of course, I would love to see my channel grow. However, I'm definitely someone who holds things loosely and I don't hold expectations. So I actually don't know exactly how to answer this one. I honestly am not somebody who watches my numbers closely. You know, like I said, maybe I should be looking at those numbers, those analytics a little bit more closely, or maybe getting my husband or my son to look at those analytics and help me to make any changes that I need. But honestly, I primarily focus on the creativity aspect. I love coming up with content, filming, and then editing in a creative way. So, like I said, I know this doesn't really answer the question where I see myself. I'm not fully certain I will still have a channel in 5 years. I just kind of take it day by day or, you know, month by month or just a little at a time. I don't have necessarily a vision of continuing this channel on for indefinitely, I guess. Okay, my next question, actually, it came from someone over on Instagram. I'm not even 100% sure he watches my videos. It's actually my husband's cousin, Tim, which here's a little random side note about myself. My husband has a cousin, Tim, who is Asian. He was adopted into his family, and then I have a cousin, Tim, who is Asian. My mom's brother was married to a Korean woman for a period of time. And so my cousin, Tim, is half Korean. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that random factoid that my husband and I both have Asian cousin Tims, which is just a weird factoid to share. But anyway, he asked, do you know of any pet safe, and he put in parentheses, dog, essential oils to make your house smell amazing? I will answer this. I probably should send him a message over on Instagram as well, since I'm not fully certain he watches my videos. But honestly, I want to suggest checking with your vet to make sure any essential oils that you are diffusing in your home are okay for your dog, because I'm not necessarily an expert as far as that goes. My favorites are, one is a blend that I use every night. It's called Peace and Harmony, and it's made by the Now brand. That brand is not necessarily super high quality, but it's kind of mid-range quality, I guess you could say. I also really love the patchouli scent. That's probably one of my all-time favorite scents, and so I have that one in my bedroom as well. And then for my kitchen diffuser, I tend to try to find scents that match the season. So right now I'm doing kind of more fall scents, and moving into winter, probably choosing some pine or cinnamon, like Christmas sort of scents. So I don't know if that really answers the question. Like I said, I think it's best to check with your vet to determine if the essential oils you have are safe for your dog in particular. Next up, I have several questions from my sweet subscriber and friend, Jenny. And first of all, she's asking about Luke, how he likes his job so far, and does he have plans to visit for Thanksgiving or Christmas? Like I mentioned, Luke is our son who moved to Portland in August. He's our middle son. He got a job up there, and that's why he moved there. And I did already mention, yes, he's actually coming to visit us for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I'm very excited about that. Luke is really enjoying his job so far, which he's actually enjoying the city. He's enjoying being there, which that makes it so much easier to let him go and let him live his life in a different city. It does help that he seems to get along well with his boss and with his coworkers. He does seem to still be getting used to working 40 hours a week. That is definitely a different schedule than the flexible college life schedule. So I'm sure that over time he will get that worked out. And otherwise, as far as the work goes, he's really enjoying that. So yeah, thanks for asking about him, Jenny. I appreciate that. Her second question is, would you share your experience with perimenopause and hormone replacement therapy? Okay, y'all, I feel like I could make an entire video on this topic, to be honest, for lots of reasons. One being, I feel like the hormonal issues that I've had over the years have been related to other health issues, and that's like a whole thing, which I know I've shared a little bit about my health issues on my channel in the past. I have actually had hormone imbalances since my early to mid 30s. I found that out at the time when I found out that I had several food sensitivities, vitamin deficiencies, which were related to my body's inability to absorb vitamins, and low hormone levels. I actually started hormone replacement therapy at that time, and back then in my mid 30s, it was estrogen progesterone type cream, but that began to not work as well for me over time. And that is when I learned about having low testosterone. So now currently I have been getting the BioT pellet, which I won't go in a lot of detail what that is. You can look it up, Google it. Basically, it's just a time-release testosterone therapy, and I've actually been on that, I think, for about 7 years now. I will share that I'm technically not in full-blown menopause yet. Sorry if this is TMI, but I am still having a cycle. But from my understanding, once you have gone through menopause, they will adjust the hormones in that pellet as your body needs different hormones as you go through menopause. I will share that I have been actually educating myself a lot this year on women's health after menopause, and there are definitely lifestyle changes that need to happen in order to maintain healthy weight and retain muscle mass. I wanted to share that I've learned a lot from a gal. Her name is Dr. Stacy Sims. I don't even know if she has her own YouTube channel. I've actually just seen her interviewed by several other YouTubers. I can link one of the most helpful interviews that I watched with her for you down in the description box below. But basically, she talks about the importance of lifting weights as you go through menopause, how we lose muscle mass more easily as we age. Also, getting a good amount of protein in your diet is really important as you go through menopause for the same reasons as you're trying to retain muscle mass. Just in general, focusing on getting lots of protein, fruits and veggies, and limiting your carbs or eating healthy carbs, which honestly, that's pretty easy for me, just because I do eat a gluten-free diet, so I generally don't eat a lot of carbs anyway. I rarely eat like alternative bread products, like gluten-free bread products. I try to just replace bread with things like if I'm going to eat a burger, I will eat it on a bed of greens instead. So that's not a huge change for me personally, but I know that that might be a big change for people who just eat a regular American diet. But anyway, maybe I'm going into too much detail here. Like I said, I could honestly do a whole video talking about all this stuff. But like I said, I will link that video below. It's definitely worth the watch if you're really interested in remaining healthy as you head towards menopause. So you'll have to check that out. The other question she had was, do you have a good sense of what needs to be cleaned and when, or do you follow any sort of cleaning schedule? I do have a weekly cleaning schedule that I follow so that everything in my home that I want to get cleaned once a week does get cleaned once a week. And I'm actually really consistent with that cleaning routine. And I also tend to choose one room, or I created 12 zones, if you will, throughout my home, because sometimes it's not just one room. Like I think I lumped together my half bath and my laundry room. But basically, I choose one room or zone per week to deep clean and declutter. And I used to be more methodical about how I kept track of what needed to be done next, just kind of working my way around my home so that each room got deep cleaned and decluttered about every 3 months. But honestly, I feel like ever since I've started my YouTube channel, I more often choose a space randomly so that I can share that like deep cleaning motivation on my channel. And in addition to that, there are actually some spaces or some rooms that I no longer consistently deep clean, like our 2 children who are still living with us. They're both adults, so I do not deep clean or declutter their rooms. I will sometimes help them if they want help, and I will especially go in and help my son deep clean his room sometimes, but it's not as consistent as it used to be when they were younger. So I guess my answer is yes and no. I do my best to get my home deep cleaned as often as possible, but I am really good at kind of those weekly maintenance chores. Okay, the next question I have comes from Vanessa, and she asks, what is a good start to organize your space and your time? Well, the short answer is to start small. It can be easy to get overwhelmed when thinking about getting your whole home organized, or your whole life or your time management organized. And so it's really important to start small so that you don't give up before you even start. Start with one small space at a time. And if you have more bandwidth on a certain day to devote to it, then do a little more. I often find when I'm working on something, if I just tell myself I'm going to do this little small space, it kind of snowballs and I want to do more. If I say I'm just going to do this one drawer in my kitchen, I often just want to keep going and keep working at it. But I will give you my biggest organizing tips, which number one is find a home for everything. I think this is super important, and maintaining and keeping things organized is that everything has a space. And then number two is to declutter first. You don't want to organize items that you no longer use or love. And it's going to be a lot easier to find a home for everything if you don't have too much stuff. And then lastly, number three is to just use organizing tools you already have on hand. There is no reason you need to go out and buy all new organizing bins, matching everything. Oftentimes, we already have on hand bins and containers that will work for getting our spaces organized. So I hope that helps you. The next question comes from Nicole, and she says, what is your favorite opportunity your channel has given you? And I didn't know exactly what she meant by this, but I went ahead and interpreted it like I wanted to, I guess, or like I thought. By far, my favorite opportunity is the people who I've been able to meet through having a YouTube channel. Definitely other YouTubers that I've connected with, but also all of the people who I feel like are my friends now because they regularly watch my content and they comment on my videos. I really am truly grateful for this community of people, and I just feel so blessed to have gotten to know people that I would otherwise never get to know had I not had a YouTube channel. And then next up, I wanted to intentionally put Kate's question right after Nicole's, because Kate asks, have you become close friends with other influencers? And my answer is yes. Because of my YouTube channel, I have several friends who are also YouTubers, and it has been a huge blessing to connect with these friends. Just having this content creation in common has bonded us, but I just have really enjoyed getting to know them as people and just all of the unique individuals that they are. And I've actually been lucky enough to meet several of these friends in person, and I'm still working my way through the country to meet all of these friends. Kate, one day I will meet you. Friends, if you are still here sticking with me, thank you so much. I know I had a lot of questions and a lot of things to say about each of the questions, so I appreciate y'all still being around. My next question comes from my friend Terry, and she asks, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And I just love this question. How fun. Definitely being able to go 2 times speed. I'm always so jealous of myself when I watch these videos back and the footage is sped up. I just feel like I could get so much more done in life if I could go this fast. Look at me go. The next question is from Valentina, and it is, how did you decide to be a professional organizer, and why did it not become a long-term job for you? So I'm sure I have shared this on my channel in the past, but I used to work part-time at a local furniture and home decor boutique. It was called Vintage Fresh. And I really enjoyed organizing the stockroom when I worked there. That was my favorite part of working there. I mean, I did interacting with clients, but I just really found such joy in organizing the stockroom, when we would get new inventory and I could organize all of it. But I was also just really inspired by my boss, the gal who owned the business, just seeing her run her own business. And I'm like, you know what? I could do that. I think I could do that. And I had several friends that really encouraged me as far as just encouraging me about my gifts and talents of organizing and just, creating spaces that were organized and beautiful. And so I decided to try to start my own business. I will say starting your own business is not for the birds. It's definitely something that's really challenging. And unfortunately, I just had several roadblocks when I was trying to grow my business. I started it in the spring of 2018, kind of loosely, just working with friends at that point. But in the fall of 2018, my youngest son got sick, and we were dealing with some health issues with him and dealing with alternative school options for him at the time. So that really threw a wrench in trying to grow my business. And then, of course, in 2020, COVID happened, and a lot of people were no longer hiring in-home workers. And so just there wasn't as much business there. But I did find during COVID that I really leaned into my YouTube channel, and I really loved editing. I loved creating content, coming up with the ideas, filming, editing. And so I just kind of leaned into that, and that kind of became my primary focus. And so the organizing business just kind of faded away. I did make a distinct decision to not pursue it anymore, but it was a slow fade. But I will say one of the things I want to do is kind of combine the two loves, like with organizing and also being able to create content by helping friends or local people in my neighborhood get their spaces cleaned and organized. That would be something that I would really enjoy doing. Okay, the next few questions come from Cindy, and first, she asks, how did you meet your hubby? So I did meet my husband in college. We both went to Indiana University, and we lived in the same dorm, but we were also both involved in a Christian on-campus organization, which it used to be called Campus Crusade for Christ. It's called Crew nowadays, but we were both involved in that. And so we kind of got to know each other through that organization. And then we started dating. So that is how we met. And then the next question is, did you go to college? And that kind of answers that question. Yes, I did go to college. I went to Indiana University, and she also asks, what did I go to college for? So I went to college to get a journalism degree. I actually minored in business, as my plans or my goals was to work for corporations doing public relations type work. I did have an internship doing public relations with a big organization, but I actually didn't have a job outside of college because I got married very young and we had a family right away, and I started staying at home with our children right away. So I never really had an opportunity to work necessarily in that field of journalism. However, I feel like I've used my journalism skills over the years working with non-for-profit organizations, doing work with the parent-teacher organization and some other non-for-profits where I could use my skills of communication. And honestly, as I look at it, I feel like having a YouTube channel is very journalism adjacent. So maybe I am kind of using my journalism degree nowadays. Phew, y'all, we made it. There's one more question. The last but not least comes from Cammie, and she asks, what is the sweetest comment you've ever got? Well, Cammie, I have gotten so many comments over the last 5 years, and I've gotten so many just absolutely sweet comments. So it would be very difficult to pick just one. But I will have to say that my sweet subscriber and now friend, Jenny, who I know she left a question in here. I know I've talked about her before on my channel, but she often warms my heart and encourages me with her comments. I really appreciate your comments, Jenny. They're just always so kind and so sweet. And so I hope that kind of answers your question, Cammie. It wasn't poignant. I don't have like a specific comment to share with you, but I do appreciate all of y'all who leave kind comments. I read every single comment. I know that especially lately, I have not been very quick to respond, but I always read your comments and I respond as quickly as I possibly can. But I do appreciate everyone who comments on my channel. Okay, here are the small number of things that I am getting rid of. I am going to go ahead and get rid of this container that used to hold dry dog food. Our dog, as he's getting older, is getting super picky about food, and we've been feeding him wet food instead. And even if we go back to dry food, we do not need a container this large, because this I actually used when we had 2 dogs, and our beagle actually passed away 4 years ago now. So I feel like we don't need to have this much food on hand for our small Yorkie. This food, it's probably stale, honestly. It's been in there so long. So yeah, that's why I'm getting rid of that. This was just a takeout container that my husband thought we might use for leftovers, but honestly, I feel like we have a good number of leftovers containers. I have glass containers that I like to use. And then this is some molasses. I'm just getting rid of it because we literally don't ever use it. I think I've owned this for several years and never used it. I don't even remember why I purchased it. These are lids that go with to-go coffee cups that sometimes we use the cups and we don't use the lid. And then these are KitchenAid guards that you put around your bowl that honestly I don't ever use. I've had this KitchenAid mixer for I think a couple of years now, and I don't use those. Those are really bulky and big to keep around. And then this used to go on top of a type of dog food we used to purchase. We used to always mix dry and wet together, and we used to buy cans of wet food, like the larger cans. So this would cover it to put it back in the fridge. But we don't buy those cans anymore, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that as well. Okay, these jars I had down in this cabinet, and they were from Honey, and I saved them because look at how beautiful these are. These are perfect food storage jars, and I think I am going to use one of them for now for this desiccated coconut. I think this might be something that I will keep on hand in my home. I use it as opposed to using like breadcrumbs to make things crusted. So as you can see, I've used almost this whole bag, so I need to order more. But for now, because I don't have another jar for it, I'm gonna put that in there. I also need to refill some of my spices, and I am thinking I might use this other one for coconut oil. Let me show you what I was using. Okay, I was using this jar for coconut oil. I buy my coconut oil from Costco, so it's in like a huge container, which isn't ideal for using every day. So I was keeping it in this, but I think I'm going to transfer it to this and see how that works for us. But anyway, I need to do this last few things in the kitchen here. Okay friends, my video is wrapping up here. I know this was a long one, and y'all, man, if you stayed with me until the end, you are the true trooper, the true star subscriber. I really appreciate if you've watched all the way until the end. I do hope you enjoyed this Q&A. I am sorry if you got tired of hearing my voice. I know I was pretty long-winded in this one, but I just, again, want to thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you who are subscribed to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.